Well, good morning everybody. Hope everybody's having a good time. Well, at least be in good health. Today I'm going to read to you from my book Jubilees Insights. I'm going to read from chapter 17. And this chapter is about Hagar. I call the chapter Hagar Cast Out, which parallels the chapter Genesis 21 in the Bible. And I'll point that out in a minute. It's slightly different. Genesis is like, I should say that Jubilees is known as Little Genesis. And it parallels Genesis really well. And sometimes it gives some extra details. So chapter 17. And in the first year of the 5th week, Isaac was weaned in this Jubilee, 1982 AM, Anno Mundi, years of the world, or 1982 years after creation. And Abraham made a great banquet in the 3rd month on the day his son Isaac was weaned. And Ishmael, the son of Hagar, the Egyptian, was before the face of Abraham. Ishmael was about 14 at the time, while Isaac had just been born and weaned. And his father Abraham rejoiced and blessed God because he had seen his sons and had not died childless. And he remembered the words which he had spoken to him, or God had spoken to him, on the day on which Lot had parted from him. And he rejoiced because the Lord had given him seed upon the earth to inherit the earth, and he blessed with all his mouth the Creator of all things. Trouble brewing right away. And Sarah saw Ishmael playing and dancing, and Abraham rejoiced with great joy. And she became jealous of Ishmael, and said to Abraham, "Cast out this bondwoman and her son." Remember that Hagar was actually an Egyptian princess, or a daughter of Pharaoh himself, who Pharaoh had given to Abraham. He gave that Hagar to him at that time when Abraham and Sarah went down to Egypt, and Pharaoh tried to take Sarah to wife, thinking she was Abraham's sister, only to find out she wasn't. But in the meantime, God had plagued his house, and at that time Pharaoh gave Abraham Hagar to help Sarah, rather like a slave, a bondwoman. Yeah, so that's why she calls her that. But she was actually an Egyptian princess. "Cast out this bondwoman and her son, for the son of this bondwoman will not be heir with my son Isaac." So here Sarah's acting jealous and authoritative, like some queen or something. And the thing was grievous in Abraham's sight, because of his maidservant and because of his son, that he should drive them from him. You'll find this in the story of Genesis chapter 1. And God said to Abraham, "Let it not be grievous in thy sight because of the child and because of the bondwoman. In all that Sarah said unto thee, hearken to her words and do them. For in Isaac shall thy name and seed be called." And I find it very interesting how you can apply Romans 8:28 to all the situations in the Bible, and all things work together for good. To them who are the called, they were called according to God's purpose. And I think it's quite amazing in this story that God doesn't operate the way that man thinks things ought to be. We in our minds like things to be simple, not complicated. God's different. I know personally this. I know it's true. There's so many situations. God doesn't do things our way. Sometimes it annoys us. I know. And so why do it like that? Well, why not, But God has a greater purpose in everything he does in molding all of our lives. And as somebody has wisely said, God isn't just thinking for this life. He's thinking about you and your life for eternity. That's an important point to remember. Things we go through, it might seem painful, very difficult. I can think of quite a lot of things like that. But God has a greater purpose. And I think when we have suffering and pain and privation and affliction, sorrow, and things go far against what we want, which I've experienced personally many times, it actually helps to build your character. If you accept God's plan in your life, it will build your character and you'll become a stronger person spiritually. And you become a more compassionate person as well, which is testified by many people through history. Man needs to understand that we're here to learn things, not to just do things. We're here to learn. We're to learn what's right and wrong. And if you can learn that much, then learn how to help others. And not behave the way you see those who rule around you. Behave like complete idiots, arrogant, nasty. That's not the way we're supposed to be. Of course, in this story here, I think Sarah also has things to learn, because getting jealous and casting somebody out, a lot of people say this is a cruel story. Who in their right mind would cast out a woman with her child and just cast them out with nothing? But you see, Abraham had greater faith than that. He just obeyed what God told him, and God said, no, listen to Sarah. She said, yeah, cast out the bondwoman Hagar. In this thing, I know it's grievous to you, but do it anyway. Well, like I say, this would appear to us, well, that's very cruel. Why throw out this woman? She's actually a princess, Hagar. Why throw her out and her son? But God knew in his foresight, don't worry, even if you do cast her out, I'm going to take care of her, because her son is destined to be a great person. He's going to bring forth 12 princes. It says it both in the Bible and here in this book of Jubilees. It's fantastic how God does things contrary to natural expectation. It's just fantastic. But it always works out. God's plan always works out. Did Hagar get rescued out there in the desert? Well, she certainly didn't starve to death and go thirsty or hungry. No, the angel came and rescued her. And her son did go on to marry and have 12 sons, which became 12 princes, became all the Arab nations of today. Incredible. So God's plans work better than ours, and so we have to have faith. We have to trust God that if he tells us to do something unusual or go somewhere unusual or endure something unusual, that he knows better than we do. And if we let God have our way, his way in our lives, we'll be a lot happier, a lot more fulfilled, instead of trying to do it all ourselves in our own strength. Here's a typical example in the story. Wow. Back to the story. And God said to Abraham, let it not be grievous in thy sight because of the child and because of the bondwoman. In all that Sarah hath said unto thee, hearken to her words and do them. For in Isaac shall thy name and seed be called. But as for the son of this bondwoman, I will make him a great nation, because he is thy seed. And Abraham rose up early in the morning, and took bread and a bottle of water, and placed them on the shoulders of Hagar and the child, and sent her away. And she departed and wandered in the wilderness of Beersheba, and the water in the bottle was spent, and the child thirsted, and was not able to go on, and fell down. And his mother took him, and cast him under an olive tree, and went and sat down over against him, the distance of a bow shot. For she said, let me not see the death of my child. And as she sat, she wept. Genesis 21:16. And the angel of the Lord, one of the holy ones, said unto her, Why weepest thou, Hagar? Arise, take the child, hold him in thy hand. For God hath heard thy voice, and hath seen the child. And she opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. And she went and filled her bottle with water, and she gave her child to drink. And she arose, and she went towards the wilderness of Paran. And the child grew, and became an archer. And God was with him, and his mother took him a wife from among the daughters of Egypt. And she bare him a son, and he called his name Nebaioth. For she said, The Lord was nigh to me when I called upon him. And it came to pass in the 7th week, in the 1st year thereof, in the 1st month of this Jubilee, on the 12th of this month, there were voices in heaven regarding Abraham, that he was faithful in all that he told him, or God told him. He loved the Lord. In every affliction, he was faithful. Affliction or privation or difficult thing God's asked you to do, like go and sacrifice son Isaac on the mountain or something. Well, that happened later. That was another test. And the prince Mastema, this is Satan, another name for Satan, came and said before God, Behold, Abraham loves Isaac his son, and he delights him above all things else. Bid him offer him as a burnt offering on the altar, and thou wilt see if he will do this command, and thou wilt know if he is faithful in everything wherein thou dost try him. Comment 1. A very strange scene. Satan in the form of Mastema comes before God, practically tells God what to do. Satan is very cheeky, as well as hateful as a trickster. There's no other being in the spirit world, as far as I know, who can behave like Satan. He is indeed the accuser of the saints, like some prosecuting lawyer who is able to come into the courts of heaven to accuse the saints before God day and night. Job 1:6. Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them. And the Lord said unto Satan, Whence came thou? Then Satan answered the Lord and said, From going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it. Job 1:8. And the Lord said unto Satan, Hast thou considered my servant Job? There is none like him on the earth, perfect and upright man, one that fears God and eschews evil. Then Satan answered the Lord and said, Doth Job fear God for naught? Hast thou not made a hedge about him and about his house, and about all that he hath on either side? Thou hast blessed the works of his hands, and his substance is increased in the land. But put forth thy hand now, touch all that he hath, and he'll curse thee to thy face. The Lord said unto Satan, Behold, all that he hath is in thy power, only upon himself put not forth thy hand. So Satan went forth in the presence of the Lord. Comment 2. The good news is that one day Satan, or Mastema, will finally be cast out of the heavenly courts and will no longer be able to accuse the righteous before God day and night. Revelation 12:7. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and prevailed not, neither was their place found any more in heaven. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceives the whole world. And he was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. And I heard a voice from heaven saying, Now is come salvation and strength in the kingdom of our God, the power of his Christ. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused him before our God day and night. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb, and by the word of their testimony. Love not their lives unto the death. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and the sea. The devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, as he knows he has but a short time. Verse 17. And the Lord knew that Abraham was faithful in all his afflictions. For he had tried him through his country, and with famine, tried him with the wealth of kings, tried him again through his wife when she was torn from him and with circumcision, and tried him through Ishmael and Hagar, his maidservant, when he sent them away. And everything wherein he had tried him was found faithful, and his soul was not impatient, and he was not slow to act. He was faithful and a lover of the Lord. Comment 3. This last verse shows how we are supposed to live our lives. Allow God to try us, make us into what he wants us to make us into through the trials of affliction, pain, sorrow, disappointment, privation. One who loves God in spite of it all, with all of one's might. One who both listens to God regularly and obeys specifically what he tells one to do. So that was chapter 17. You can get my book, Jubilees Insights, which does have a lot of insights and makes the story in the Bible in Genesis there, 21, even more colourful, more interesting. So get my book, Jubilees Insights, and get that at Amazon. You can get my 7 Insights books at Amazon, and Jubilees is one of them.